apologies, FPSL Division 2 Season 8. Is it 8? Season 7, sorry. We are here at the Hanoi City Circuit in Vietnam. Hanoi, the capital city of Vietnam in Southeast Asia. You join us just in time for qualifying as we prepare to get underway. Calendar we were expecting to see for the calendar, a circuit we were expecting to see for the first time in in Formula 1 in 2020, but of course due to the coronavirus pandemic that was not possible and it was postponed. Its inaugural race was postponed to the 2021 season, but we will not be seeing it in 2021. The Vietnamese Grand Prix has been removed due to, I'm assuming, as a protest to the arrest of the Hanoi's People's Committee Chairman Nguyen Du Chung for corruption charges unrelated to the race. And so the Formula 1 calendar deciding that they didn't want the Vietnamese Grand Prix on the calendar. They didn't want to bring Formula 1 to Vietnam. You're looking at Kieran, the current championship leader, driving the Alpha Tauri this season. Currently sits in first place in the championship on 83 points. He is the only driver in the top 5 of Division 2 to not have either already been promoted to Div 1 or to have left the league. The next closest driver is FRL Evan in the Alfa Romeo. Currently P1 on your timing screens, but that will change once we have a lap time set. As Kieran lets the Racing Point through, and we have a lot of cars out on track, as you can see, all but 2 cars out on track. So we'll have to see who this Racing Point here was. Was it Playdirex? It was not, it was Padders. So Padders will be the first person in the Racing Point to set a lap. And he'll be hoping to have a decent result to really shoot himself up the table as far as he can. He's not had particularly memorable season for Racing Point. He's only turned up to 3 races. This is his first race appearance in 3 rounds, and every race he has turned up to so far, he has yet to finish. But here he goes. He's on his lap there. Technically, a very appropriate line through that corner just there, but you do want to cut that chicane a little bit. The game does allow you to do that as you ride the curb, and it gives you a little bit extra time. This chicane here, you want to cut these corners as well. A nice line through there from Padders, but again, you can cut them a teeny weeny bit more to gain yourself some extra time. As he comes down onto one of the longest back straights on the Formula 1 calendar, should the the Hanoi City Circuit be used. 1.5 kilometres or 0.9 miles long, this straight here. Leads all the way down into the hairpin down at the end as they'll go around. This is a tricky hairpin, as pointed out by Playdirex, who's in the Racing Point here in Div 2, is making his Div 2 debut as a reserve. Is a Division 1 commentator, and he pointed out yesterday it's a very tricky hairpin. It seems to widen up on the exit. It's very tricky to get right. This section here, Sector 3, windy, long S's section, which are trying to not brake for. You just want to lift off and carry as much speed, especially in qualifying, through each corner as much as you can. Into the penultimate corner comes Padders, down towards this fast left-hander that takes him onto the back straight, getting very close to the wall. He'll go to the line. It'll be a 1:35.3 from the Racing Point. Behind goes Kieran, a 1:34.8 puts him on provisional pole, and he'll be very pleased with that, I imagine. Now through Sector 3 comes FRL Kieran, one of our other people to keep an eye on. As Lewis goes on pole, I didn't notice Lewis there. As FRL Evan comes out the final corner, he goes into P2. So 1.2 seconds off of Lewis 05. Once again, flexing the muscles. It was his reserve debut last week, also in the Red Bull. where he absolutely dominated, going on to pole by a comfortable margin, winning the race by a very, very comfortable margin, and taking home the final lap as well. So we got 27 points from that, because here at the FPSL we do allow an extra point for pole position. So 27 points he took from the Vietnamese Grand Prix, as we do have plenty of people setting laps now. Everyone else below has set a lap. We're just waiting for Colin here, who's on his out lap on the medium tyre. Interesting to see as well. We've got a few people attempting a medium qualifying lap in the first stage. Of course, you have got Colin, although we're not expecting a particular belter from Colin, not because he's not quick enough, but because what Colin likes to do is strap on the harder set you can get in qualifying, which is of course the mediums, and put in a few laps just to hone himself into the circuit. But we have seen medium laps from Swanee Vapor Co, I'm going to call it, or Coa, we'll go with Vapor Coa. And Played Rex, who is of course one of the Division 1 commentators, making his debut in Division 2 here today. Up to 5 viewers, thank you very much for joining us. As he starts his lap now, does Colin. We'll have to see where he puts himself, of course, after a few laps. But as I said, he's not really looking to smash it out of the park, I'd say. On his first lap, he's just trying to hone himself into the circuit. A few very tricky corners around the Hanoi City circuit. This one, he's just gone through this one as well. Very difficult to get your foot down. I believe that's turn 4 or 3. I'm going to say it's 3. I'm going to say it's 3, and you're going to have to deal with that. The chicane, lovely little line there. A little bit wide. Again, as I said earlier, you can cut the curb just there, and it's crucial to get being as fast as you can that you do cut those curves absolutely right. So you see Swanee has actually set a couple of laps. Swanee further down this back straight than Colin. He's in P9 currently. The lead medium tyre runner. Well, of course, he's run out of ERS there. That's what that flashing red light means. He's got no more ERS in the tank in that McLaren. So he is likely to be on an in-lap right now. As this is Colin coming down to, we just finished Sector 2 just there. As you approach this corner, you would have finished Sector 2. Into Sector 3, which is the main part of the circuit, which is not public road. This is a hybrid circuit here in the Hanoi City Centre, in the, and I hope I pronounced this correctly, the Nam Tu Lem district of Hanoi, the capital city of Vietnam. It's Sector 3 is actually purpose-built race track, as Sector 1 and Sector 2 on public roads in Hanoi. As Colin goes into P12, which is not too bad considering some people on soft tyres haven't quite done as well as him. As here comes Mimula 1. He's on the flying lap. Not been too shabby in his first few races here in Division 2 for the FPSL. Of course, he did get quite unlucky last time out. We do have, some of you may have noticed, a missing Williams that we usually see, which is Connor, or Connor Stay 19. He is serving a race ban for the Vietnamese Grand Prix. Oh, very, very hot through that section. It was lovely to see there as he flies through, skidding through that sector. But as I said, Connor serving a race ban for causing a hefty lap 1 crash at the Brazilian Grand Prix last week, where he proceeded to take out both Mimula 1, who's just gone 10th, a good lap from him, and well, he was just a passenger, just caught up in a mess that wasn't his, was V Tricky, who isn't performing with us today in Vietnam. An interesting line there from Mimula 1 through the first couple of corners. Scarlet Witch here, who's on her out lap in the McLaren, or it's just started a flying lap, is the reserve driver standing in for Tricky today. It was her debut as well in Brazil. She drove the Racing Point, and she did it was a very, very resilient drive from Scarlet Witch. And I gave a lot of praise for it, as we saw some of the drivers just decide to retire in much better positions in the race than her. And she opted, despite being back by, well, at least a couple of pit stops at one stage, decided to stay in the race, didn't retire, didn't give up at all, and actually came home with a point in P10. So a very resilient, very good drive from Scarlet Witch that time out. She comes down the back straight. We'll have to see how she does. Although, that being said, we may have the Alfa Romeo of Evan further around the lap. We do, as he's just started sector 3. So we'll have to go on board or follow Evan through this sector. Apologies to Scarlet Witch fans, but this is one of the main men we're trying to focus on. As he comes flying through this lovely looking S's section, left, right, then left again, or well, left, right, left, then left again, and then you come through to this final corner. Is he going to improve? He does improve by 8 tenths, but it's still not enough to beat the original lap by Lewis, who is currently sat behind his teammate, and this may well end up being a bit of a hold-up for Lewis. Colin's going to want to get out of the way as quick as he can, but it's a difficult space to get out of the way in the middle sector. He's going to get really held up, is Lewis, and he's going to have to completely back out of that lap. Colin getting in the way there of his teammate as he dives into the pit lane, and I believe Lewis has done as well. I don't like that camera angle, so we're going to move on to somebody else who's on the lap. This is Kieran coming out of the hairpin. Got his foot down rather well, it appears. And he's 2 tenths up on his previous time. You can see there in the top right, 0.202 seconds up. And now he'll have a go at attacking this high speed sector. As he comes through, he's run out of ERS before the end of the lap here, so that could cost him. He does improve by 2 tenths. Not good enough to get anywhere near the top 2 though at this point in time. So it does appear at this point in qualifying that Evan and Lewis are in a world of their own. Apologies, I had a bit of a brain fart. As we now come down to Buttons back, who has done 2 laps on those tyres. No, and he's going to back out of that one. And now we'll go on board with Morris Minor. No, we'll go to the other Haas of, Vapor Koa. He's further along his lap. We'll see how he does. A Vapor driver, Vapor Esports driver. And he hits the wall on the outside, I believe. I'm not sure. He does go up to P6 nonetheless. So a good lap, it appears, in the meantime for Vapor Koa. Apologies, I did not mean to do that. Nudged it with my leg. So now have, I believe, this is Brent coming into the final sector. It is. As Morris Minor crosses the line and isn't able to improve. Brent will be the next person across the line in that number 69 Ferrari. No, he's going to come into the pits as well. So we can now go back to Kieran, but I believe Kieran will also be on an inlet. Well, he is. He's just invalidated there as he's cut that corner. And Knowing Light is also invalidated. So we are yet to see a lap. That's Koa who's just trying to put a lap in. I believe this is Sankey Dead here. Sankey Dead is on a lap, unless it just set one. Because, of course, it won't tell us it's an in-lap until the very end, until Sector 3. But he's run out of ERS already on this back straight, so I'm going to assume that he's on his in-lap. And I'm going to cut away, and this may come to bite me in the butt, but we do not know, we won't know until he reaches the end of the lap. Swanee also running low on ERS. So I will again assume that he has already set a lap. Morris Minor, we already know, has just set a lap. There is a red ball out on track. That is Lewis, the current provisional poleman. He'll be looking to take his second Red Bull pole position in a row. As I mentioned earlier, he took pole position in Brazil last week. All of the previous races from many, many seasons back can be found on the FPSL YouTube channel. And you can go back and watch the rest of the season if you like to. We don't do highlights, unfortunately, so you would have to watch the full-length stream. As Lewis cuts the corner, just trying to get through his out lap as quick as he can to give himself as much time to set this lap. Bit of an early lap time to go out for your final lap. He does still have 3 minutes to go in the session. But he's opted that now is the optimum time for him to go out and set that lap. As he comes around the final corner, taking his time to get the revs up. And launches it off the final corner onto his final lap of qualifying for Lewis 05. who will be looking to improve on the provisional pole time he's already set so far. 1 minute 33.6 to beat as he comes through the first very difficult corner, first couple of very difficult corners at the Hanoi City Circuit. Over the curb a little bit there, as I was mentioning earlier. Could have even taken a little bit more, I reckon, as he comes down now the second straight, the second longest straight on the circuit, about 800 metres around this, what is another long hairpin. It's actually a roundabout one. It's for public use, as Kieran in the Alfa Romeo gets out the way. Alfa Tauri, apologies, as he comes now towards the DRS straight. The DRS section on this back straight, this, as I mentioned, nearly 1 mile long back straight, is only in the second half of the straight. As you can see in the mini-map down there, those little green sections are where the DRS straight, or the DRS zone, starts and ends. Now he finishes sector 2, is Lewis. He's up nearly 4 tenths, 0.388 of a second, as he comes flying through this high speed section. Let's go on board and just listen to the car and the shifts. Out of the final proper traction zone, he's going to lift through here and to the line. A 1 minute 32.9. I don't even know what an improvement of 7 tenths. I'm not actually sure what the pole time was in Division 1, but I'm sure that would 100% be right up there. As we'll now have to move on to Evan, who may well have timed this slightly better in terms of when he'll get his final lap in with optimum track time, but he's got a whole second and another bit to make up if he wants to do it. Although this could be... Ooh. Interesting. It appears he's backed out. Oh, no, he's got wing damage. I missed that. So Evan's got wing damage. That's his qualifying all but over. Well, no, it is over. He's not improving on that. Who else? We've got Brent on an outlap, so we won't quite go on board with him yet. We've also got Played Rex, one of the reserve drivers filling in today, a Div 1 commentator. As I said, this is probably the third time I mentioned that. Joining Division 2 with the number 27 Racing Point. I believe that's the same number used by Nico Hulkenberg when he took over from Sergio Perez during the last season. So we've essentially got Nico Hulkenberg in the Racing Point. But here is Kieran through the second sector as he's looking to improve on his lap time and get himself onto the front row. Oh, a big slide, and that's his lap gone. Kieran's lap is over, his qualifying is over. He will not be starting any higher than P3, but Knowing Light is actually not too far behind him on the deltas, and he's already up 2 tenths, so this could be P3 for Knowing Light at this rate, and if he can improve by even more, maybe even his first front row of the season. As he comes through the hairpin, gets on the power well, a little bit of a slide on the back end, a little bit wavy, I suppose you can call it, as Kieran does put into the pits to retire. Breaking down now into this purpose-built section of the racetrack. Interesting gear choices from Knowing Light here. Usually a 5th gear section through all the corners, but he's opted for 6th and 7th. We'll have to see if it works out for him as he comes through the final corner. Is he going to improve? He does by 2 tenths, and he does go P3. A 1 minute 34.3 puts him 4 tenths off the front row. And we'll now go down to Played Rex, who is currently behind the Ferrari of Brent, who we'll have to see how much Brent is up. Only by 2 tenths it looked about there. So it's not looking like he's going to prove, as Vapor Koa also retires in the pit lane. We are going to go back to Played Rex as he comes through this second sector on board of the Racing Point. A little wide through there, the third to last corner. The penultimate corner also wide, little luck up on the front left. As he comes down towards the final corner, onto the power, and Played Rex improves by nearly a second, goes up to P6. What a lap from the Racing Point man. A man who was really playing down his chances before the race. And it looks as though everyone else is in the pits, as Mimula 1 has abandoned his lap, so he will be starting from E11. And that's it for qualifying. So once again, You have Lewis 05 on pole. He's got a point in the bag already as he aims to really take a hold of this Division 2 here in his second race. It's only round 8 of 11 as well, so not much time for him to get close enough and win. I'm just seeing as well, we are seeing some comments coming in. I actually don't have YouTube open, so I will not be able to see your comments. And I've also turned the Wi-Fi up on my computer so that I don't lag out of the stream this time, which I did in Brazil. I had to restart the stream because my internet connection went. So I'm doing my best to make sure that doesn't happen today. And hopefully nobody's saying anything of importance in the comments. Right, so that's the end of qualifying, as I said, and it is the Scotsman Lewis 05 on pole in the racing point with a 1 minute 32.9, and over a second behind is the number 2 man of FR11 in the Alfa Romeo. The second row consists of Knowing Light and Swanee. The third row, Kieran and Played Rex, a great qualifying for the Racing Point in his first appearance. Brent in the Ferrari and Vapor Koa, the Italian, are the fourth row. And then the other Ferrari of Warrior Cloud is P9, and Padders rounds out the fifth row. 11th and 12th are Mimi the One and Morris Minor, Buttons Back and Sankey Dead. The two brothers in the Mercedes make up the 7th row. And then finally on the back row of the grid, Scarlet Witch and in the McLaren and Colin. As we now move on to the race. I'm not expecting rain here in Vietnam. We didn't have it in Division 1 yesterday. But, you know, it can get quite wet down in Southeast Asia sometimes. So you never know. We may well see some rainfall at the Vietnamese Grand Prix here. But we'll have to wait and see. Maybe a comment has actually told you already what the weather will be like. If it has, I apologise for not knowing. Right, normally, well, the original plan when the Vietnamese Grand Prix was put forward to Formula 1, it'll be a 55-lap race. Of course, we do 50% races here at the FPSL, so we're doing half that, which I believe means we're doing 28 laps. I know it's not exactly half, just over, but that's what the Codemasters, the Formula 1 game developers, have decided is 50% of 55 laps. They've rounded it up, obviously. Those 55 laps would be 308 kilometres, which equates to 191.5 miles. And of course we're doing half that, so if I'm going to do maths on top of my head, that's 90-something miles. As we get underway for the formation lap, giving the drivers, the chance. Oh, a little bit of lag there from Swanee, as I thought he went careering to the wall. Actually, Swanee in P4. I don't think I mentioned that in qualifying. It's something I've only just noticed, but there you go, a great qualifying from Swanee to be in P4. There you are on the screens. You saw those predicted strategies. 2 stops across the board if you're going to ask Codemasters, but you can do a 1 stop. It depends on your preference. If you want to go on the attack, you do the 2 stop. But if you want track position around the street circuit, could be crucial. You can go to lap 8 and stop onto the hards. As very slow on the formation lap goes Lewis. No weaving there from him, but making sure he's getting nice turn-ins, aggressive turn-ins on all the corners, just to make sure those red-walled soft tyres are up to temperature. As Evans actually getting very, very close to the Red Bull here. If he gets any closer, he could risk disqualifying them both from the formation lap, which will place them both on the grid as the rest of the grid works their way round, and will give them potentially very cold tyres come once the race actually starts, of course. And then they have to wait, and the tyres will be cooling the whole time as everyone else comes around. So yeah, as I said, as we go to the grid, Lewis looking to make it his second race win in a row. As he started on pole for the second time, he's going to have all the confidence in the world he can do it, I believe. And FR11, who got rather unlucky with pit stop strategies, will be hoping to have a better performance than he had last time as well. He started P2 on the grid, but ended up finishing P6, did Evan. So his second time finishing P2, and he'll be looking to maybe get a leg up on Lewis this time. But as I said, a very, very fast man in the cockpit of that Red Bull. As Lewis is now coming through the final sector. As we look to start 28 laps of the 5.6 kilometre circuit in Hanoi. One of a handful of anti-clockwise circuits on the Formula 1 calendar is Hanoi. It joins the likes of Baku, the Circuit of the Americas, and oh, what's another one? Left-hander turn 1. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but there are a handful, and it joins some elite company in terms of phenomenal tracks. Interlagos, Brazil, last time out actually, is also anti-clockwise. There you go. It's got 23 corners, as here they come to the grid. 23 corners here in Hanoi. The original track proposal only had 22, but the penultimate corner, as you can see on the track map on your screens, was made sharper as the right-hander before it curved around a longer to give us an extra corner, and that was put in for safety reasons. So all the cars lined up on the grid, we've got a green flag waving in the background, and for us the game says we are about to get going, but of course we do know that we are often quite out of sync with Cody's for whatever reason, so we wait to see somebody move, and it'll be FOL Evan off, Lewis off on pole. It's a great start for him. A lot of smokers, a lot of drivers get a lot of wheel spin, and that looks like a racing point in the wall to me. That's played Rex into the wall. It's been a shocking start for Evan as contact down at the back, and Evan's been touched. He's down to, oh, I don't know, is it P4? It is P4, but he's only just in P4. He's got Vapor Koa on his outside, and that's going to become the inside, and one of them's going to yield. No, they continue side by side as we head down towards turn 4. The Haas and the Alfa Romeo side by side. The first race appearance for Vapor Koa, and he's inching ahead as we get to the braking zone, but later on the brakes will go Evan as he hopes to maintain that 5th place. He doesn't quite, and through goes the Haas. But a great, oh, and a spin from Evan at the hairpin. Oh, and there's contact, and he's out the race. He's out the race, he's out for Romeo. Disaster for the Haas, as he is out of the Grand Prix. Mimula 1 appears to have picked up a penalty. Maybe that is for contact with Evan. It'll be an unlucky penalty if he has. If I get up the penalties detail, we'll be able to see what kind of penalty. No, it's only 3 seconds. He's got a corner cutting penalty on lap 1, does Mimula 1. But that is incredible. Out of the race on lap 1 is the man who started on the front row, FRL Evan, and 1.6 seconds already separates the Red Bull and the Williams in P2. So Lewis already streaking away and flexing the muscles of his driving ability. As we go to the scrap just behind is Vapor Koa, potentially looking to go on the attack again, as he is very close. Oh, and is that people going side by side? Apologies. Through the second sector, it looks it, as we have Played Rex into the pits. As I thought, so it does look like there was some wing damage for Played Rex, as Swanee is also in. I think it was actually Swanee who was caught up in the Alfa Romeo crash. I think it was that contact there that removed Evan from the race, that took off the wheel. Oh, and Padders has also had to come in at the end of the race. A disaster for Racing Point, as the Padders is just getting held up there, as you can see. And now the Racing Point team, because this is the way that Codemasters have coded it, the pit crew can't get out of the way to get a nice quick pit stop done, especially when both cars want to change the front wing. So an agonisingly slow pit stop for Padders, and with no safety car, that's going to put him well and truly at the back of the field. As we switch that to the interval so I can see the gaps a little more clearly. Closest lap we do have on track at the moment is Played Rex in the Racing Point and the McLaren of Swanee. Let's see what tyres they both chose. It's evidently the medium for Played Rex, but the hard tyre for Swanee. So Played Rex will be looking to make this move as quick as he can, so he doesn't have to spend the entire time behind the hard tyres of Swanee. It'll be a tough ask to make either of these tyres go to the end of this point. I don't believe for 1 second that the hards will be going to the end, as we do have a yellow flag in Sector 3. It's Scarlet Witch, I believe, who's had an issue. She's going very slowly, and some damage on the front left of that end plate for Scarlet Witch. Very disappointing, as DRS is enabled as we move on to lap 3, and into the pits comes Scarlet Witch to change that front wing. Let's do have a very close battle here in the midfield, headed by Mimula 1, who of course has a 3-second time penalty, but it also includes the Haas of Morris Minor, Sankey Aded and Colin, as they weave through the long turn 2 and onto turn 3. A little wide there from Sankey Aded, As the Mercedes of Buttons Back is actually also in the pits. He's on his way out as well, so maybe some wing damage for Buttons Back early on. He started on the hards and he's now onto the softs. So probably, well, there will definitely be another stop from Buttons Back today. And now let's move on to the back straight. Brent right up behind the Haas of Vaporcoa. Both of them already on lap 3, lacking ERS. As into the hairpin they go. As Vichensky has just joined, but it's going to be too late for him, unfortunately. He won't be able to race today. He was trying to join towards the end of qualifying, but he has, of course, unfortunately missed that opportunity. As coming down the back straight is this group just here. Oh no, not they've already finished the back straight. They're going into sector 3. But let me just say it again, as he streaks out in the lead, let's pay him some homage. The 5 seconds the gap already between the Red Bull and the Williams. Oh, a big slide from Lewis there. He'll probably be quite surprised that we caught that, him being so far in front, but that's lost him about 3/10. And you can just see there, knowing light in the background as he is chased down by Kieran, our championship leader in the Alpha Tauri. He's got Vaporcoa and Brent Stelton behind him. So we'll follow this, I suppose I can call it lead group, even though they aren't the leaders. I'm going to call them the lead group. As there wasn't a great exit there from Kieran, as they go on to the first of, or the straight number 2. Whether it's the first or second, it will be the first DOS straight they are actually allowed to use in the race at any point, of course. As Knowing Light has actually got himself a 6/10 gap, and it may actually be, rather than Kieran looking ahead at attacking the Williams, he may well be looking backwards at the Haas. He doesn't have the red flashing lights of a lack of ERS, so he's actually going to be well and truly safe. Not going to be close enough to make a move though, but he is seeing right around. Oh, and contact! Vaporcoa has hit the back of Kieran. No damage for Kieran, but there is damage for the Haas behind him. And that's actually pushed Kieran out of DRS range of the Williams in front, so he's got it all to do now to close back up, but damage for the Haas as he goes very wide there. Does Vaporcoa. Not a great showing so far for the Vapor Man in his debut in Division 2. As he dives into the pit lane, as you'd expect, brakes nice and early and gets it slowed down. And as you can see on the timing streams, he actually overtook them technically, of course, because a very interesting pit lane. It's a lovely short pit stop time at Vianara, and was done so by design by the track designer. It cuts out the final 2 corners, as you can see on the minimap. You can see just there, and it actually cuts out turn 1. So there may be at times in this race that we'll see one of these guys, and he's going to come come out ahead of the guys behind him. So we will head back up to this scrap here. As here comes Brent, he's right behind the AlphaTauri, but it cuts out turn 1. As that looks like a yellow flag. Vaporcoa has retired. Has he crashed out there? I couldn't quite tell. We'll go on board with Buttons Back, who looked like he may have had a spin out of the final corner, but Vaporcoa has actually left us already. So clearly an accident as he exited the pit lane for Vaporcoa, and it was a disaster first appearance in Division 2 for him. And we do have, it is only a virtual safety car though, but somebody who is gaining under the virtual safety car is Sankey Dead. He's only 5/10 behind Mimi the One now. But as I was saying about the pit lane, I want to get this fact out now that I've started. It cuts out turn 1, which will see some of these drivers, as they exit the pit lane, shoot out into turn 2. And it's designed to encourage more adventurous strategies from Formula 1 teams. To potentially encourage them to make a 2-stop rather than stretch for a 1-stop, as we see so often in Formula 1 right now. As through the middle sector, there you go, we'll go on board as he tries to hunt down the Renault into the penultimate corner. They both look like they've caught up slightly to Colin, who is actually on the soft, right up behind the hard tyre, the medium tyre running, Haas of Morris Minor. But Brent looks like he's getting very, very close to the Alpha Tauri this time, so we'll go on board with these two fighting for a podium spot. Kieran has been unable to close back in on Knowing Light so far. Maybe a little flustered, maybe he's been being attacked and they're losing time. But Knowing Light is 3 seconds up the road. This will be a great result for Williams if Knowing Light can keep it, considering, of course, Connor is serving that race ban. To the outside goes Brent, and he goes very close to the wall, but he is going to be through into P3 before they even reach the braking zone. So a nice and easy move there. Not too much of a fight put up by Kieran, although he does force him to go to the outside. It's going to be a little bit treacherous if you're not careful. But through into P3 goes the Ferrari, the number 69 Ferrari of Brent Stelton. As we are seeing moves further back. And that looks like maybe Colin had a little accident there, as he's running low on the RS as well. You can see the flashing red light. He is ahead of Mimi Le1, sorry, but who is closing in. As another 3-second time penalty is earned for Mimi Le1. That's his second of the race as far as I'm concerned. But Colin's still behind Morris Minor in the Haas. As they weave through Sector 2. It looks to me as though Kieran may actually be falling off the back of Brent here. Maybe just doesn't quite have the pace in the early stages as he slides through turn 2, apologies. Down towards this chicane at the end of the first sector, or the start of the second sector, should I say. And he's already outside the DRS range, so like myself in the Red Bull yesterday, it could well be that he had a lovely qualifying but has no pace at the start of the race. It's something I struggled with personally yesterday in Division 1, but we won't talk about my race. It was a shambles. So it looks like Padders has actually had to stop again. He's on fresh mediums apparently, and he's a long way in last place. It's actually likely that we'll see Lewis, who is now 10 seconds out in front, close in on Padders quite soon. I have to say, Vapor Trench, this man, Vapor Trench, if you don't know, if you're listening, is the owner and one of the moderators for the FPSL league. This man might need to be boosted up to Division 1, just saying. Anyway, back to the race, back to the rest of the race where we see other people who are actually near each other. Let's go to this little scrap down here because it's very close between Morris Minor and Colin. Colin has got ahead of Morris Minor as Brent actually comes into the pits for his first stop on lap 7. But very close together as Colin goes wide. He's got Morris Minor all over him. It'll be at this stage that those mediums are actually much, much better than the softs of Colin. As you can see, showing his nose listening to turn 1, just letting Colin know that he's there. As we do see Brent in the pit lane. He's going to come out maybe just alongside somebody else. There it is. He shoots out just ahead of Sankia Dead. And that's what I was talking about when I was talking. Oh, and Morris has gone past Colin actually, so I've missed that. Apologies to those of you watching, I've missed that as I was trying to go back to this pit lane because it is very, very interesting. Another comment, thank you very much for interacting. A lovely shot there as they go around that hairpin section. I'm actually going to get the YouTube stream up on my screen now, although I will mute my computer so you don't hear it. Just so I can try and see what some of these comments are. I missed Lewis crash apparently, as he's actually into the pits is the Red Bull just behind Knowing Light. Oh, we actually have missed him crash. He's actually behind Knowing Light here, so Lewis has crashed and I hadn't even noticed. So apologies to everyone, I was too busy looking at the YouTube. I'm going to blame all of you for that. But a front wing change for Lewis. And this will be very exciting now, I do believe. He's going for the two-stop as he fits the mediums. And we're going to have to see Lewis cut through the field here. And I have missed Lewis crash, so apologies. And he'll be kicking himself as well. He's just got to make sure he's calm and composed now, back in that Red Bull cockpit, and he'll do his best to get back to the front of the field. And I'm sure we'll be keeping an eye on him as the race progresses to see how he fares as he cuts through the field. And here is Rex behind the fresh, hard tyres of the Ferrari of Worry Cloud, as Cloud does go a little bit defensive and then cuts back to the racing line to take the normal line, just making sure that Plague Rex is discouraged from sending one up the inside there. He gets very close to the Ferrari, and off the corner they go. It's a great exit from Plague Rex. I'd say much better than that of the Ferrari. What's he got in terms of straight line speed in the pink car? He's right up behind. He's going to go to the outside as we saw Brent do earlier. And he's got the move done. Up into P9 goes the Racing Point. He will be having to stop again. Warrior Cloud, though, looking now on the hards to go to the end. As Brent is now in net P1. As he does get past Colin, he just lets him through. And Colin also lets Mila 1 through as Colin actually comes into the pits. So briefly into the lead there. But we will continue on following Brent as he goes for the lead. As Lewis has just got... Oh no, he's passing Colin because Colin's in the pits, so silly me. But here's Brent. Brent in a net P1. I don't know if he's... Well, he must be aware of that. He'll be wondering exactly where Lewis went. Where did the Red Bull go? Because he's behind him. And actually, maybe unaware. Brent may not be aware, but he's actually on the same strategy. So Lewis will be stopping again, as I said. Kieran now right up behind on the hards. Kieran is going to the end. He's just gone onto those hards, and he's behind Sankey Adair, who's on some old medium tyres. Both of them looking for a good exit if they're going to either keep or gain a position. And actually, we've got Knowing Live very close to Mimula 1. He's going to go to the inside, which will become the outside for the hairpin, but he's got the move done before the braking zone. Is Mimula 1 going to fight back? Nope. He's going to be a little bit too far back as they brake for the hairpin. A little bit deep goes Knowing Light. But he does gain the position up into P3. And he'll be looking to close in on Brent, who's actually gotten past Morris Minor for the lead already. So I'm missing all the important bits so far. As now, here is Lewis. He's up behind. Both the Mercedes of Sankey are dead, and in turn then, Kieran, who is going to the end. So that'll be one of the names on the checklist of Lewis as he tries to fight his way back to the front. But of course, as I said, he will be stopping again. So it's quite a tall task to win this race now, maybe. As he is virtually pushing the Mercedes through these last couple of corners. Oh, I really thought he might have gone for the move there. Some of you may have noticed with one of those angles through the SS section, he's got a strikingly similar helmet to that of Sebastian Vettel. As he moves up into P6 as he passes Sankey down into turn 1. Goes a little bit deep. Is Sankey going to fight back? No, Lewis is going to maintain the position. And he can now turn his sights onto the Alpha Tauri, the junior sister B team, I suppose you can call it, of Red Bull, although they are certain that they are not. Although they are both owned by Red Bull. He'll be looking to catch up to Kieran. Oh, and he's hit the wall again, maybe. It looks like he's gotten away without any damage, but Lewis actually looking quite uncomfortable. It's not a popular track, is Vietnam, and he said before the race that he didn't like it. But he seems a little bit out of sorts after his spin or crash or whatever happened earlier. There's not really have anyone within any sort of range to make a move anywhere at this point, so we are going to stick with Lewis as he does try and make his way back through the field. Kieran as well will be counting his lucky stars to be ahead of the Red Bull at this point in the race. As into sector 2 they go. Just take a listen. they start lap 12, those two. And Lewis is actually in DRS range. So he'll be looking to go on the attack on Kieran as soon as he possibly can. And it is the closest battle we've got on track, the battle for P3, the podium position, a move that will be vital for Lewis to make as soon as he possibly can if he wants to make sure that he isn't held up for longer than he needs to be. He goes to the inside on the Alpha Tauri, and he's going to have gained P3 before the back straight. So is Kieran going to use this as an opportunity to fight back as Lewis hops across that curb, just as I mentioned you could in qualifying. So a lovely line through there for Lewis, and he's actually over a second ahead already. He was just under a second before as they crossed the detection point, which is earlier on in this straight. So Kieran will have DRS, but the likelihood, as you can see with a weird wing open there, but the likelihood of a comeback move is as good as dead, as he's already gaining within 2 seconds of knowing light, as Lewis flexing the muscles, as I've said many times in this race, flexing the muscles, I have to choose a different phrase, trying to get back into a position where he can control this race before his first pit stop, or his next pit stop, apologies, if he can. And there's Brent, you can see on the mini-map, just a couple corners ahead, just over 7 seconds up the road from Lewis, but at this rate it looks like he'll be cutting into it in no time, and Brent actually will be stopping again. So in terms of cars going to the end, knowing light is leading the way on the hards. He'll be wanting to go to the end, as will Kieran behind him. And so once again, this is a move that Lewis has got to make. As Rex is closing in on Sankey dead further down, there could be a move there in the next couple of laps maybe. But in the DRS is Lewis now, using the grippier hard tyre, medium tyre, apologies, to get as close to the Williams as he can. It's now 3/10. He's gained massively through there. Dirty air forcing him to a little bit of a wider exit, but nonetheless it's going to be a great exit compared to the hards. As down they come down, the back straight will go on board as he gains and gains. There's the flashing red light of knowing light. He's got no ERS, so here comes Lewis. He's going to be forced to go to the outside by the Williams, but he's going to be through before the braking zone. And he takes just a little bit wide of the apex. Is it going to be an opportunity to fight back here for the Williams? So deep went the Red Bull, and he's actually lost a position again. So he's back down to P3. To the inside, maybe. Yes, he does. He's going to be on the brakes. He has to cut over the curb. This is great racing by the pair of them, as the knowing light just cuts in front again, doing everything he can. And he knows this is good, because the longer Lewis is behind him, the harder it will be for Lewis to actually make up the time come his second pit stop. But of course, as you can see with the flashing red light, there's not a lot of ERS left for knowing light, and depending on the ERS stock that Lewis has available to him right now, a move could be fairly simple as they come down towards turn 1. Is Lewis going to go for it on the brakes? He does. Into turn 1, which goes back on itself slightly. He gets it much better this time, but again, knowing light looking to fight back around the outside, but he's not going to quite be able to. Oh, we're down the inside, maybe no, as Lewis went very wide again, so maybe still a little bit flustered is the Red Bull, as he knows he does have to get a move on. Sankey Dead is now on his way out of the pits. He's going to cut turn 1. And into turn 2 he comes out. It's a really weird pit exit, I found, at least. I couldn't quite get it right whenever I was exiting it. And I had plenty of practice yesterday. Morris Minor now up behind Player X on fresher, soft tyres compared to the 11-lap old mediums. And I sense a move coming. Here comes the Haas. 0.2 of a second is the gap, and he's going to brake early and allow Rex to take his preferred line through there, although he does go a little bit wide as the racing point. But Morris Minor, I'd assume, looking to stick behind and save his move to the next lap now, because there's no real overtaking opportunities. 2 seconds free. Oh, he's touched the wall there. Lucky to escape with no damage, it looks like. Maybe a lime green front wing on the damage indicator. As we do actually have a yellow flag. Swanee's retired. Has he crashed on? Going to see here. It actually looks like he has. He's crashed into the wall. A very... apologies. A very strange place to crash indeed. As we go on board with Scarlet Witch here. It is a virtual safety car, so all cars having to adhere, to a Delta. Swanee's despawns. We won't get to see that now. Not allowed to exceed that Delta time, and if they do, they're going to drive through penalty. We've seen it a few times in Division 1 this season. I think I've had at least 2 or 3 of them personally. And we may have seen it a couple of times in Division 2 as well. I believe we have. As we do go green again, everyone avoiding a drive-through penalty here, it seems, unless Mimula 1 didn't, because of course he's the only one with a penalty here. Well, we would have seen it pop up as well if he had one. So everyone avoiding a drive-through penalty and not being tools. And now down towards the hairpin comes Morris Minor. Is he going to be close enough to make the move this time? He's going to go to the inside. Later on the brakes, Rex is going to give him the space, and I actually think he's let him through there. So potentially very smart there from Played Rex. As he's now moves up into P5, does the house of Morris Minor. It'll be an excellent result to him, potentially, I believe, his best of the season. Finished in P8 in Brazil last week after starting P15, so he was one of the drive of the day options, I believe. Actually, I don't even know if we did drive of the day last week. So apologies if we actually missed that. As he's already broken DRS, the DRS range, the DRS gap to Played Rex in the Racing Point, so no response expected as of yet. We'll go back to Lewis at the front. He's only 2 seconds ahead of Knowing Light here, so he's not managed to pull the gap maybe as much as he would have liked, unless he's had another little spin or accident or something, and it's still 5 seconds to Brent. So his pole yesterday was a 32.8, as Milestone has told us in the YouTube chat. I can't actually remember what Brent did in qualifying, but it might actually have been better. I think it was better. So Lewis would have been on pole position in Division 1 yesterday. That's just how fast he is. As he is now looking to close down on Brent, it may be something he has to do in the second stint, because it doesn't look like he's really gaining anything here on the mediums on the Ferrari, despite them being 1 lap fresher as he comes through the second sector. As Padders looks like he has stopped again. He's now on the hard tyres, and he will be as long as he has no damage or doesn't have to pit again. Sorry, he will be going to the end. And it'll be a fantastic result for Knowing Light, who is currently, I'd say, the net P1. Should he win here today, yet to have a victory or even a podium in Division 2 this season. His best finish was P4 at the 3rd race of the season at the Dutch Grand Prix in Zandvoort. And this will be by far his best result yet. A little bit of a slide there from Lewis, I thought I just saw there, and maybe even a little bit of contact with that inside wall there. As I love these camera angles that Codemasters have given us for the Vietnamese Grand Prix. Absolutely brilliant stuff. As he comes now down the back straight, down towards the hairpin. As Kieran, 2 seconds back on Knowing Light. See him just going around the corner there at the top of your screens. He will remain in P1 should he end up victorious. Well, even if he doesn't end up victorious, he will remain in P1. It will put him, if he finishes in P2, as he is the net P2 man right now, it will put him on 101 points. after 8 rounds. Still yet to get a victory as Kieran. He's in the championship with no victories. He got a 2nd place at the Brazilian Grand Prix last week, which was his best result of the season. He had 2 third places between that. Before that, sorry. As Lewis is now actually in the pits for his 2nd stop, and he's actually hit the wall again. So he's had to change the front wing as Lewis. And I missed that again. I need to stop looking at the computer when Lewis crashes, because that just ruins everything. But he is in for his 2nd stop. He'll now be going to the end. And it has been a bit of a horror show since that first little accident for Lewis. He's going to come out ahead of his teammate for the race, Colin, who is actually in a permanent Red Bull seat. And Lewis has been his reserve teammate for the last couple of races. In the place of Smile, it's Kyle, who hasn't attended a race since the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, I believe 3 weeks ago now. So that seat could well be, well, an option for somebody else to take should he not turn up to any more races. Is something that I'm sure is already on Vapor Trench's radar as he sorts out the driver transfers at this in the FPSL. And now we have the fresh tyres of played Rex right up behind the hard tyre running Sankey are dead. And this may have been a scrap we've already seen today. As Rex is right up behind, we've got a yellow flag in Sector 3. It looks like a racing point. It's going to be Padders there then. He may actually have been caught up with the Williams of Knowing Light, but I'm not exactly sure. But I just missed, well, I didn't miss it, you saw it on your screens, but that was Rex making the move into the hairpin. As he moves up into P8. So a decent showing from the man in the Racing Point on his FPSL debut. It's not his debut in terms of races he's actually attended. Of course, he has attended many as a Division 1 commentator. This is his first time in the cockpit in the FPSL as he does so in Division 2. So it's nice to get a move. We haven't had any overtakes in the last couple of laps. Not really much action. We probably would have if I paid attention to Lewis, but I just never expect him to make the mistakes he's been making today as he comes now down to the 2nd straight of the circuit. I'm not actually sure who holds the fastest lap right now. Let's have a look. It is Lewis with 1:38.6. Actually quite a lot faster than most other drivers today. Buttons back and Morris Minor, the 2 closest to him, but they are both at least maybe 7/10, just under 7/10 off the lap time set by Lewis, as he is starting to close in ever so slightly on Morris Minor. You can see him up ahead, but there's Padders as well. The lapped car is about... Oh, the big slide from Lewis, and that was very nearly into the wall again. All over the place is the Red Bull man today, the man who looked after at least during the first stint, the majority of the first stint, like he was going to take this race by the horns and not look back and take a stellar victory for the 2nd time in a row. But he's got a tall task in front of him. He's going to do that with the remaining laps, as of course Padders' car will ghost, but he comes into the pits anyway. So probably some wing damage there for Padders. We may well see a retirement from him, but if not, I'll give him massive props as I always do. I always like to see cars hanging about. As he sets another fastest lap, does Lewis, as Brent is now into the pits for his pit stop. And he comes out ahead of them both. So, as you saw there on the timing screens, on the timing screens, he actually went behind both Morris Minor and Lewis, but with the cutting of turn 1, he's come out ahead of both of them in P3, but he will have a charging Lewis to contend with once Lewis deals with Morris Minor, who looks quite slow through there, as he's had to have almost a little bit of a push from Lewis. Hopefully no damage for the Red Bull. And he's all over him already, and he's going to make the move before they've even reached the activation zone of the DRS. And it will be Lewis. Lewis actually has DRS to get the move done. So that's up into P4 for Lewis, and we'll have to see. This will be a real good comparison of Lewis's pace in Division 2. How much faster is he? as he's on... another slide out of the hairpin. So, a danger point for Lewis is clearly on the exit of that hairpin, something that he's got to rectify if he wants to make sure that he absolutely doesn't end up in the wall before the end of this Grand Prix. But as I was saying, it'll be a good gauge of his real pace compared to Division 2 guys, with now Brent ahead of him on the soft tyres. Fresh softs as well, may I add. And Lewis on still fresh mediums, but they're a couple of laps old. And strictly speaking, Brent should be much, much faster on those tyres. We'll just have to wait and see what Lewis can do. By the looks of it, the gap has been going up over the course of this lap. But of course, he has had to deal with Maurice Minor, who is now into the pits for his final stop of the Grand Prix, or will hopefully be his final stop of the Grand Prix. We've got without any disasters, of course. So here's Colin. Colin on the medium tyres. Sorry, potentially going to the end. Who knows? With a few more. Well, with 7 laps to go. And he's currently in P5, but he has Mimula 1, although Mimula 1 does have a few time penalties. 9 seconds worth of penalties. The only driver with penalties, mind you. As Colin has gained 11 positions this race, as he did start from P16, the back of the grid. And of course, P16 currently resides with FR11, who had his shock accident on lap 1. As Colin's actually out of ERS, so he's done enough there. It looks to keep Mimula 1 out of DRS range. There's a 1.8 second gap. A little bit further back is Played Rex, who may well actually have 2 moves on his hands before the end of this race. He's actually made 2 stops as Played Rex. He's gone with a 2-stop strategy. Where's the tyres gone? There we go. Apologies for flicking around with that. Scarlet Witch picks up a 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane. So not ideal for Scarlet Witch. As she comes to get her front wing changed by the McLaren pit crew. Of course, Formula 1 returns in just a handful of weeks. And of course, the week before the season kicks off, we've got Formula 1 Drive to Survive on Netflix. As Played Rex picks up a penalty. He's still got a lot less penalties until he's got 6 seconds less penalties compared to Mimula 1, but otherwise, that's going to be a little bit of a pain in the bum should he come towards Colin. And where is Scarlet Witch going to come out in comparison to these guys? He's going to come out ahead, or she's going to come out ahead. Apologies. This does go deep. But of course she will be lapped by these guys before long and will be requested to move out the way, or rather told to get out of the way by the game. As through turn 2 comes Maurice Minor. He's right up behind. Well, actually, we're going to go to here. This is going to be a move for Played Rex as he moves ahead of Mimula 1 into P6, and there just under a second now as he's gaining every moment because of the fresher tyres. There's Colin just ahead, as Maurice Minor did get ahead of Sankey-Dead. So, with no ERS either does Colin, and Rex will be seeing that and maybe looking to deploy his ERS of his own as he tries to gain and gain and gain as much as he can. He's not going to be close enough to make a move into the hairpin there as he goes a little bit deep. And is there contact there between him and Mimula 1? Where's Mimula 1 gone? Must have been a little bit of contact. Mimula 1 looked like he tried to send it up the inside, but he was a long, long way back. So if there was contact there, I'm afraid I'll have to put that the fault for the contact at the door of Mimula 1, as it was audacious to say the least. Sorry, I covered my mouth there to scratch my nose, and hopefully that didn't make the sound too funny. As very close through this S's section is Played Rex. Is he going to look for a move at any point before the final corner? As deep goes Colin. We're actually going to see it before the final corner. Oh, this is brave from Played Rex. And through he goes. Through the final corner. It does give Colin the DRS though, as he shows himself in the mirrors on Played Rex, just to remind him that yes, you may have just passed me, but I am still there. And here is actually Brent right up behind the AlphaTauri of Kieran. And this is for P2. And neither of them particularly far behind Knowing Lives. This could be, if he can get a move on, a hell of a victory for Brent as he's going to go to the outside of the AlphaTauri. He's going to do his best to put up a fight to prevent the Ferrari from moving into P2, but it's going to be done before the braking zone. And into P2 goes Brent Stout. This will be his first win in FPSL, should he make the final move and take the checkered flag in P1, as he is already within DRS range of the hard tyre running. Knowing Light. And there isn't that many laps to go, only a handful remaining. But Lewis, of course, is closing too, just under 4 seconds behind Kieran. Will Kieran have the pace to keep the Red Bull behind? And it'll be a heck of a podium here in Vietnam, should this be how it finishes with these three. One I certainly wouldn't have predicted. As he is already very close to Knowing Light. Maybe into turn one, not quite. He's going to sit behind and wait for a later point in the lap. As Lewis now under 3 seconds behind Kieran, so maybe a mistake from Kieran at this point. Oh, he's already having a look, is Brent. Knowing Light left in the space. And as they come towards turn two, this is going to be a move for the lead for Brent Selden. The number 69 Ferrari is going to go for the lead on lap 24 of 28. Oh, and Knowing Light's going to put up a fight, but he does have to pull out there. Would have had his nose chopped off, but that is the Ferrari up into P1, something we haven't been able to say, particularly recently in real life Formula One, as the Ferrari team has struggled greatly over the last year. And they're hoping that next season, with a new driver partnership of Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, to have a little bit of a redemption before the new regs come in 2021. Knowing Light had a little bit of a look. Oh! High and mouth moment there. I thought Brent had gone straight on and that was going to be his race win out of the window. But it's just a little bit of lag from Codemasters. Thank you very much for that, Codemasters. But look behind there. There is Lewis closing in as he gets very close to the wall, optimising his line and using as much track as he possibly can to get as fast as he possibly can as he comes through this second or final sector, sorry. As I said earlier, this is the purpose-built section of the racetrack. Sector 1 and Sector 2 using or utilising public roads here in the capital city of Vietnam, in Hanoi. Sector 3, a purpose-built section of racecraft, which is not for public use for the rest of the year. But there he is, he's within DRS range of Kieran already. A Scarlet Witch again picking up a penalty. Oh, and more contact. Kieran's had an issue. He spun round and he's actually... Lewis has driven into the AlphaTauri, so... Well, it looks as though Kieran has actually gotten away with no wing damage, but I can tell you, by looking at it, Lewis certainly hasn't. He's going to have to stop again. And Kieran, through, you know, not his intention, the Scarlet Witch retires and leaves the session in the pit lane. Disappointing week for her. And it'll be classified as P13. But is Lewis actually going to have a go at all on Kieran here? There's no real point. He's going to go for it, actually. Even with the wing damage, he's going to have to stop at the end of the lap. So this will be frustrating for Kieran. But wow, what a moment. Lewis spinning, or Kieran spinning, after turn one. And Lewis just gets collected. So he is into P3 as of right now. But... will I see him going to the end without wing damage? I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. Will he try and stretch to the end? He's touched the wall a little bit there, but he's not even going to be able to take this section with as much speed as he would like. Look at how slow he's going. But he is opting to carry on. He's going to try and go to the end of the race, is the Red Bull. But look just how slow he is through each of these corners. Kieran, if he wants to get higher than P3, will have to get a move done as soon as he can. Oh no, there's actually wing damage for Kieran as well, which I've actually missed so far. But is he going to have a look? Oh, very close there between the pair of them. They're side by side. Oh, brilliant racing between the two cars with limited front wing end plates. Only one front wing end plate for Kieran, who is out of ERS still. And this is going to be a heck of a battle. Two cars with limited front wing scrapping over for podium position. As to the inside cuts the Red Bull, but it's going to be close and it's not going to quite be an option. As we apparently have 13 comments. Oh, thank you for the compliment on my commentary. From my lovely auntie who's popped in to hear me commentate. So thank you for that, Danny. And actually, Lewis just went back past as I was talking to my aunt. So cheers, Danny. you've maybe missed something quite important as the battle of the front wings continues, or the lack of front wings. As was that? No, that's Buttons back, who's had a bit of a shocker of a race. He had a bit of an incident, and he's got no front wing, and he's sped into the pit lane. No braking at all, so I am fully expecting to see a retirement from Buttons back in the pit lane here. So there you go. This man, Padders, who is who knows how many laps down. It says 1 lap, but it may well be more than that. He is on the verge of some points. If somebody else crashes out, this man is getting points. And what do I say about perseverance? It's something we love to see. As Kieran actually maybe has had another accident. He has. He's got absolutely no front wing now. So battle of the lack of front wings is... Oh, and he spins as well. The number 69 Alpha Tauri, as you can see just there, spinning the tyres as he tries to get going. And that's actually a puncture. A rear right puncture for the Alpha Tauri. He's been taking them a long way, and what's this going to mean for Knowing Light? They've been on their tyres for the same amount of time. And there's only 2 laps left to go. This is the penultimate lap, and Brent is, at this point, on his way to a race victory. But with Kieran having picked up a puncture, that's advanced played Rex into P4, so a great performance for him so far in his FPSL debut, but Knowing Light could be on the verge of a puncture here. The man who was with him in the top 5, who tried the same strategy, we've just seen he has had a puncture, and that could have contributed to the extra wing damage he's got. But Lewis is going to win battle of the front wings, and he's going to come home in P3, desiring again barring disaster at the end of the race here, as Kieran's just falling down the order. A nightmare for him. And he's actually probably not going to get any points at this rate now, so agonising the end for our championship leader. And that lead is going to take a massive hit as we do move on to the final lap of the Grand Prix. Brent does lead, but we remain following the Williams of Knowing Light, as we actually saw JT Gelato in Division 1 get a puncture yesterday, which ruined, well, I don't know if it ruined his chances at a race. I wasn't anywhere near the race, so I didn't see how it ended, but it was Karin Wobb in the Red Bull who won the race in Division 1, but JT Gelato got a puncture right at the end. Sector 3, yellow flags, and once again for Kieran, who's trying to nurse that punctured tyre, potentially back to the pit lane as he gets out of the way of the Ferrari, not looking to cause any incidents as we come around what is usually a roundabout. That leads onto what is a public road in Hanoi. Of course, not when the walls, the race barrier walls, are set up. Just reading more of the YouTube chat. It's no problem, Danny, don't you worry. And it looks like he's going to be safe to go to the end maybe, but you know, it'll be lovely to stay and watch and see if he does get a puncture, but we have to go and focus on this man. Brent Stelton, who's going to take his first victory in the FPSL Division 2. It's going to be 25 points for him as he rounds the final corner. It's going to be victory for Ferrari once again. Brent Stelton crosses the line in P1, and Knowing Light has nursed the tyres home for P2. And it's going to be Lewis who does pick up P3, and he'll be probably very disappointed with that result. He knows it could have been a very easy victory today as he crosses the line with, as I said, very little front wing to his name. Although it is actually going to be P10. He will get some points, will Kieran, as Padders is too far back as he comes around the roundabout later on in the lap. We are going to see Colin come home for P6, so a good points haul for him in the Red Bull. Of course, his Lewis, who finished P3, will not be scoring points for Red Bull. Rather, he'll be scoring points for what we call the reserve team, as he is currently a reserve driver. Should he be allocated a permanent seat, of course, which, considering his pace, is entirely likely if anyone drops out. But we are going to see, as we are just waiting now for Kieran to cross the line as he starts Sector 3. Come on, mate. Take your time. See, the reason this has gone so badly for Kieran is because he spent too much time playing NBA 2K with me today and not practicing for his Division 2 race. So I'm very disappointed. As he comes now through the final corner, it's going to be a disappointing P10 for Kieran. But points are points, and all points are good points. So it is P10 for the Alpha Tauri. Could have been more, but as I said, it is 10th place. As P4 for Played Rex, Matt, as he's otherwise known in the Division 1 commentary box, does get P4 in his debut, of course, also scoring for the reserve team. But lovely stuff for him, as there it is, the podium sequence. Ferrari back on the top step, the Michael Schumacher figure back on the top step as well. Of course, one of those options you can use in the Formula 1 game. A nice touch from Codemasters as we continue to hope for the best of health for Michael Schumacher. But that is it. That is the Vietnam Grand Prix around the Hanoi City Circuit. And for the first time in his FPSL career, Brent Stelton is at the top step of the podium. And knowing Light in the Williams joins him on there, or on the second step, but joins him on the podium, along with Lewis in the Red Bull, who will be gutted. He knows there could have been so much more. On his debut, Played Rex finishes in P4. Morris Minor in the Haas with a good P5. That's 10 points for him. Colin in the Red Bull comes home P6. That's another 8 points to his tally. Once again, doing a great job of coming from the back and staying out of trouble to score points. Sankey Aded in the first Mercedes in P7. Warrior Cloud in the Ferrari in 8th. Mimula 1 in 9th in the Renault. And Kieran, disappointingly for him, in P10 after his puncture at the end of the race. Padders is the final finisher, and the rest just there didn't finish. And of course Evan, who's somebody we were expected to be on the podium today, crashed out on the first lap. But that is it for round 8 of FPSL Division 2 in season 7 here. I'm not sure what the championship will look like after that race. It was a hell of a topsy-turvy one, particularly with Kieran's issues at the end, and FR11 not actually finishing the race. Those are the top 2 in the championship in terms of well, they're the top 2 in the championship technically. But yeah, a very entertaining race in Division 2. Thank you very much to them. Next week we'll be at Abu Dhabi, the Abu Dhabi circuit, Yas Marina circuit, for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, obviously, in round 9 of season 7 of the FPSL season. Join us on Tuesday at 8 p.m. for Division 1, where you can see yours truly in the Red Bull do his best to actually do something and support his teammate for once, who has been doing very well. And of course, join us 8 p.m. on Wednesday for Division 2, as you did tonight. And you will hear from me again, and well, maybe Vapor Trench if we can get him back for next week. We'll have to wait and see. But as I said, that is all. Thank you for joining us. Join us next week. And good night. Thank you.